Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 20 of What If the Naruto Universe Had Quirks. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other What Ifs of the other channels. Yes, I indeed have 4 of them which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and smash that red subscribe button and become a part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification to see exactly when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. So without further ado or wasting more time, what do you say we jump right into this brand new episode begin now guys? So the last time we left off, Mikasa woke up from a terrible dream, where Naruto was in the center of chaos, blood, bodies, destruction all around him. As she was worried. Yes, she was worried. She knew that he was out there by himself, and she didn't know what was going on. Time skip. Naruto and Gaara faced off against one another. Gaara had fully transformed. He was ruthless. He attacked Naruto with everything that he got. However, in terms of physical strength and speed and endurance, Naruto was just above him. Even when Gaara pulled upon the power of the Shikaku, Naruto still bodied him. Naruto pushed Gaara as Gaara lost his composure. Even the Shikaku mine seemed to be corrupted as Gaara pulled on the sand in the location, as all the sand rushed towards him, making Shikaku massive. As Naruto looked up towards the beast in front of him, there was no worry, no scared in his eyes as he attacked. The battle that followed was devastating and destructive. Pure utter chaos as they fought, destroying the surrounding area, as Naruto did not brought out the flames. Instead he used the coal, as he froze up the particles of sand. He ended up defeating Gaara and sucked the Shikaku right out of him, eliminating Gaara in the process, as Naruto's power just increased by tenfolds. The Shikaku chakra blended and twisted into his own, making him stronger. Also, a marking of a Megatama appeared right in his hand. 8 more left to go. As Naruto turned his sights towards the Akatsuki members that came. That was Sasori and Deidara. They were on their way to steal the Shikaku. They never expected this. As Naruto turned towards them and started to battle them, he never knew what they were after, but seeing that they were looking for the Jinchuriki, he kinda summarized what they wanted now. So they started the fight. Naruto gave Deidara one punch without his super enhancements and shattered his face. The battle that followed was devastating and deadly. The both of them using their quirks. Sasori using his quirk to create objects all around and attack Naruto from all angles. However, Naruto used his quirk perfectly, even when they leveled the area, as Naruto was able to bring the both of them down. Deidara was pissed as he would not die that easily, so he went up in a final blast, as even Naruto had to get out of there as the entire place was swallowed, turning the entire ground into glass. Naruto was already a distance away as he looked down towards the destruction. The remaining sand ninjas finally arrived on the scene. As the village was a mess at the moment, countless were dead inside. Arriving, they saw the bodies and remains. Gaara was nowhere to be found. We then had a time skip. Being allies of the sand, Konoha ninjas were sent there, as Mito and Menma were fuming, as Mito told him that they will find him and stop him from causing chaos. There was countless dead in the sand. The Kazekage was in a coma. Things were tremendously bad. Yes, immensely so. Meanwhile that was going on, the Akatsuki was now aware of the Quirk stealer out there, and he also seemed to be going after the tail pieces. Deidara and Sasori did not take it, so that meant that he was the one that took it. Konan was worried though, as she remembered her daughter's reaction to that boy all those years ago. She did something that she didn't want to do, but she had to, as she found her daughter's journal. She saw the writing, as Misaka had written down everything, seeing that she didn't have someone to talk to about Naruto. She would tell her friends, but they would try to find out who the guy was. And when they didn't see someone like that inside their village, things would become suspicious. Now she was worried, as her daughter was right in the center of the manhunt, because the Akatsuki was now searching for the Quirk stealer Naruto, who was currently making his way towards Kiri. As he was currently in a cave, the boat would not set out until tomorrow, so he had to wait, as he already had his plan, having a map of the entire world, having done investigations over the past couple of years when he was sent on missions with Orochimaru. He was prepared, and he knew which villages he had to strike first, as he didn't want to go after Konoha and Kumo until the very end. The sand, Kiri, then the stone, then Kumo, and then Konoha. That is what he will do. He understands the power difference between those villages, even though he knew that the more tail pieces that he took, the stronger he would become. As he always wanted to be prepared, he could not afford to mess up. If he got captured, if he got severely damaged, it wouldn't be good for him. At this moment, everyone was gutting for him. They were all trying to kill him. The whole world was after him, and he had to make sure that he got them first before they got him. As the time finally came, as he took the boat, making his way. However, as he decided to get some rest, she arrived. Mikasa was on a mission. She did not know what happened at the stand. She knew what happened with him and Orochimaru though, as the rumors had spread out that he had killed Orochimaru. However, she did not know what happened about the stand, or that Naruto had attacked the Akatsuki. She did not know that. That her parents were currently talking about, well, the person that she knew so well. As she sat down with him, things were better now, as he was even talking to her calmly. Usually they remain silent, or he answered one syllable words, but now they were actually talking, and she was poking fun at him, and he actually cracked a little smile. So things between them had gotten a lot better. Even though he didn't want to admit it, she was the only person that he could just sit and talk to. Everyone else wanted him dead, but he didn't care about those people though. Some part of him did care about her, but being the person that he was, he refused to give in to feelings or rely on them. After all, in the past, they have always been the downfall of everyone, and he couldn't afford to fail now. He had a mission to do. So yeah guys, basically let's left off. You guys can switch across the play, check it out for yourself, and don't forget to go ahead and check out the other what ifs of the other channels. Yes, I indeed have 4 of them, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead, smash that red subscribe button and become a part of the anime making family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado or wasting more time, what do you say we begin this? Now guys, we begin this episode with Hidden Rain. Konan stood on the highest point of the tallest building as she looked down towards the people down below. They looked like mere dots to her at this moment, as she had a frown on her face. She was placed in a situation where she was gonna have to speak to her daughter about the problems of her friendship with this person. However, it wasn't only friendship though. She had saw the look in her eyes. However, she never expected that this boy would become so infamous and so dangerous. To think that he betrayed Konoha, but after what they were told, she wasn't that surprised. Killing Orochimaru and now taking the Kazekage's son and killing 2 of their agents. This was bad. She had not told Nagato, of course, because she didn't even know what to do yet. But she knew that she had to talk to Mikasa about all of this. She will be returning soon from the mission that she was on. This made her start to think about the past, when they were younger. Why they wanted to change the world. Why they have a plan to change everything, to fix everything. It wasn't two of them in the beginning. In the beginning there was three of them. However, this world took him away. This system, the politics, the hate between Quirkless and Quirk users. That is why they strive to get rid of it all. That is why they strive to eliminate it. She lost someone very dear to her. A loss that changed her and Nagato to strive for a better future for their daughter. And the people out there that are suffering day after day. Even now, the Quirkless are still being seen as animals. People treating them like they were, well, less than human being, just because they did not have a quirk. One example of that was Naruto, the son of the Hokage who was treated like garbage, which pushed him to do all of this. She had no hatred towards that boy, despite what he had done, killing two members of the organization. She was upset about the delay of their plans because they were searching for him. However, if they could convert him, that would be great. But someone like that just cannot be converted to their side. Back in the past, there was no one that could convert them after they lost that dear precious person to them. And he had a goal. He had his mind set on something, and he would die rather than give it up. She saw it in the Chunin exams. She saw the look in his eyes. His determination would not break. And now her daughter was involved with him. This was bad. Worse than she could have ever thought. She reached inside of her shirt as she pulled out a locket that was around her neck. She opened it. One side was missing the photo that was there, but the other side had a photo. It was old, but still kept. In that photo was her when she was younger, seen by the origami flower in her ear and her hair color in her eyes. Over to the side was Nagato, his red hair shining brightly. In the center of all of that was another boy. He had hands on the both of their shoulder, a big grin on his face. Him and Konan had similar hair color, but his hair was more spiky. That boy, his name was Yaiko, and he was her brother. And his death was a driving factor behind all of this. The reason for his death and the way he died. She would never forget it. Never, she thought to herself as she glanced up toward the heavens. Meanwhile, that was going on at the hidden sand. Sitting up in the hospital bed was none other than Raza. He had just woken up not too long ago, and everything had been brought to his notice. His son was gone, most likely kidnapped or killed. Raza was not pleased. How could anyone be in this condition? He was furious, bloodlusted. He wanted revenge. He was going to hunt Naruto to the end of the world, and he would not stop until he was dead. He dare attack his village. He killed his son, destroyed great portion of his village, acting like he did not give a damn, walking in here, causing chaos, and humiliated him by crushing him within his own village. As Raza clenched his fist angrily, that boy's biggest mistake was not taking his quirk. He should have took his quirk and left him powerless, because now he was gonna hunt him down and make sure that the ending result was his death. And meanwhile, at Kumo, the Raikage was just receiving report as his assistant Mabi stood in front of him. He dismissed her not too long after as he turned in his chair, looking through the large window behind him. A few years ago, he had put out a search to find the boy when he had run away from Konoha, but they came up with nothing. Now, turns out the boy had killed Orochimaru and attacked the Hidden Sun as well. Rumors are going around that the son of the Kazekage was missing, but not just any son, the holder of the One Tail, the most powerful asset that the Sun had at their disposal, and now it was gone. The Raikage was in deep thought as he wondered, what was this boy truly after? Was he going after all the tail beasts? The Sun was weak compared to the other nations. However, Does he really think that he has the might to take down all the other nations, especially Kumo? The Raikage was not so sure about his motives right now. However, if he did gather more than one of the tail beasts, a couple of them on his side, it would be rather problematic for him to let those loose on another nation. He folded his arms in his chair as he thought about the next step that he was going to make. Even right now, he knew that several individuals' eyes were set on the sand. They were weak. However, they were allied to Konoha, so no move would be made. He had no doubt that Konoha would be showing their full support by protecting the sand right now, to show that they were with their allies for the others to trust them even more. He will just have to wait and see. Meanwhile, at the hidden stone, the office door was pushed open as she rushed inside. Her face was something that she saw every morning, something that reminded her of the person that she wanted to kill the most. Is it true, she said. Oniki glanced up as he looked toward his granddaughter. Since that day, the rage inside of her had risen to new heights. And every time that she got nothing on him, when he fell off the map for about 3 years, she simply trained. Training to get better, control over her quirk, to better utilize it, to better use it to kill. In terms of missions, she has become ruthless. Even some of their own people were afraid to accompany her on missions. Whenever she let loose, she became too dangerous for her own comrades. Granted, she had not killed anyone on her own team yet, but still. He had tried to bring her to therapy, he had tried to calm her down, telling her to just remain calm, but that simply angered her even more. Kurosaki was pissed, and nothing that he said was ever going to change that. And now she wanted answers. Everyone was talking about the rumors, speculating about the Quirks stealer emerging back. Yes, he was finally back after 3 long years of silence. He was on the run. It was just a question now. One simple question. Who will get to him first? Time skip. Later that night. It was currently nighttime within the village of Kiri. Kiri had several islands, but the main island was situated in the center. They had several other islands for things that they did, such as farming. Other islands that they lay equipments for shipping. Many things. The main one was where the village was situated. Inside of the tallest building was Yagra. He was the leader of the village. His right-hand person was Mei Terumi. She was born special. From her family, she was born with 2 quirks. A lava quirk and a steam quirk. She was extremely powerful, but Yagra was on a different level. Basically, where they live was his entire usage of his quirk. He was born with the strongest water quirk in the entire land of Kiri. However, the way he used it was the most deadliest. Not only can he create water from his body, but he can control the surrounding water. And considering the fact that the islands were on giant body of waters, it will be tremendously stupid to fight him inside of his own home turf. Otherwise, you would be eliminated. At the moment, Yagra stood at his window looking over the village. Something didn't seem right. He didn't know what it was. However, over the years, his instincts had led him to great victories in battles, led him to accomplish great things. And now, he felt something was off, but his mind just couldn't pinpoint what it was. Even a few years back, someone had tried to sneak in this village and use him, implanting suggestions into his mind. However, he had sensors. These wasn't any normal sensors though. They were able to see the different thought patterns, the twisted knowledge being implanted into him. The person had fled soon after he had broken out of the trance. Whatever it was, it didn't seem human. The person seemed like a ghost, just vanishing like it was never there, as he couldn't even call it a he or she. Since then, his guards had been on high alert, but no one had ever arrived once again. He'd always trust his instincts, knowing where things were going to be good or bad. Today they had a discussion about the quirk stealing maniac. His name was Naruto and he was being hunted by almost everyone. However, their forces had not been deployed. They were set aside from the world, they were on the waters. One had to take a boat to get in their regions. He sent an official stamp to the docks to tighten their security as he sent some of his ninjas there to make sure to check everyone thoroughly to make sure that monster did not get in their borders, as he wanted to keep his people safe. He glanced up towards the moon as his eyes pinpoint something. For a moment there he thought it was a simple shadow. As he focused his gaze, what was that? Was his eyes playing tricks on him? Yagura's eyes widened beyond disbelief as he saw a ball of flame appeared in mid-air. One moment everything was calm, the next moment it was like the sun had reawakened in Kiri and was coming down on the village. Screams of panic and chaos started to be heard. Yagura did not hesitate as he broke through his own window, landing right on the ledge. He leaped into the air. Immediately, water formed underneath him like a cloud as he landed on top of it and ride it. Yagura slammed both of his hands together. As he started to strain, you saw sweat running down his forehead. A gigantic geyser exploded from the four corners of the village. Water erupting from the sea itself, coming together as it slammed into the fireball. This was no ordinary fireball as his water slammed into it, trying to push it back. Yagura started to exert pressure and force as the fireball was not simply turning into smoke. Instead, it was getting more powerful. He was right. Someone was behind that. The shadow that he saw, it was a person. However, he was not a Kage for nothing. His water started to spin and drill. It tore into the flames, dousing it, swallowing it completely. As it wrapped around it, Yagura shot himself up in the sky, using force to propel himself upwards as he saw someone, two eyes looking back at him throughout the darkness. That is when he heard screaming as he looked down to see gigantic sand tentacles tearing through buildings and people. His ninjas trying to fight them off, but they were being squashed, ripped, dissected. It was chaos. Flashback to a few minutes earlier. Naruto stood in mid-air as he looked over the lands that was down below. He could have gotten here a lot earlier, but he was planning his plan of attack. That was the whole reason why he took the boat in the first place. After all, he could fly. Well, to an extent. He was using a quirk that he got some time ago. A quirk that allowed the user to lighten anything that they touch. As he made himself light, and then used his telekinesis to fly through the sky at immense speed. As he looked down towards the island down below him, a lot of them, he could sense the people and where they were. The majority of them. He could also sense the two-tailed beasts. They were in the center island. A smile was on his face as he looked down towards them. He had plotted and planned for this. Kiri was stronger than the sand. Not only for their two-tailed beasts, but they always have some extraordinary quirks. Some that he believed that he will find delightful. As Naruto lowered himself, he had to take to the skies because the borders had been closely tight. There was ninjas all over, and he didn't want them knowing that he was here so soon. As he was in mid-air, Naruto lowered himself before he tapped into the strongest fire quirk to ever be existed, Madara's fire quirk. Naruto merged it into a gigantic ball of flames. As the chaos below happened instantaneously as he dropped it, he could sense him bursting out of his office, using the water all around. Yagura's quirk, water manipulation. He was said to be the strongest water manipulation, and you would be foolish to fight him in his own land, because you would be crushed. Not only that, he was the wielder of the three tails, which gave him an exponential boost in his chakra reserves. The problem was he didn't have any idea what the six-tailed Jinchuriki looked like. Not to mention what kind of quirk it had. But that didn't matter though. As the fireball was stopped, Naruto sent his next plan into action. He's been here for a good 5 minutes, as he's been allowing the earth to slowly grind together as he was turning the earth, flattening it into sand, slowly dropping small amount of sand from where he was. He knew that they ought to have sensors, so that is why he did not go too low. However, sand would not be picked up on their radar, so he was dropping sand from the sky, slowly allowing it to mix. Once it was fully turned, he allowed it to rise up. Several individuals were skewered, buildings were overturned, as Naruto watched as chaos plagued down below. However, Yagura uses water as he stopped the sand. By infusing it with so much water, it became so slow and useless. But Naruto was already done with that as he landed on a building top before he bent his knees and shoot off. With the amount of force that he used, the entire building became toppled as it collapsed down hard, killing a few people in the process. As Naruto jumped through the sky, several ninjas launched several attacks towards him. All of Naruto's 10 fingers turned into long whips, with blades at the end of them, as they whipped and tore through the sky. All that fell was body parts, one of Orochimaru's quirks that he did not utilize in his first battle at the sand. As Naruto landed another building top, as he could sense the Six Tails coming, he wanted the both of them in one place. However, he flipped back as a glob of lava landed where he once was. Flipping up on top of the building was a woman, while the Kage was busy protecting the village down below. The woman arrived. Standing behind her was 5 ninjas. She had this seductive way about her. She spoke. "My oh my," she said. "Why does all the handsome ones have to be killed?" "Killed," said Naruto, raised an eyebrow. "Well, it will be the outcome of this day," she said, as she slowly started to walk as Naruto walked as well. The 5 ninjas behind her did not move, as they watched him carefully. "We were talking about you recently. You attacked the hidden sand. You took the Kazekage's son. I guess you're here for the Jinjulikis. So you're here for our leader," she said. The ninjas that were behind her clenched their fists, releasing all sorts of quirks, as Naruto noticed that there was a strange hole gathering all around the area, like a vacuum being torn open in space. Shooting out of it was beams of light fired by another quirk user. As Naruto flipped and dodged them, he realized that one of them could create wormholes, while the other one fired beams of light that were eating away at everything it touched. As Naruto flipped and dodged all of the attacks, the woman fired a glob of lava towards him. Before it could hit him though, it split into 5 pieces and surrounded him. It then converged. Naruto shot up in the air, only for something to grab his leg. The building had came to life. One of them had his hands rested on the building, and the beam had came to life and wrapped around his leg, iron, acting like it was some sort of jelly material. However, the density of it was still incredible as it started to squeak against Naruto's bones, trying to crush his legs. The lava was about to swallow him completely, only for Naruto's hands to stretch out. However, a wormhole appeared in front of the lava balls and swallowed them. The wormhole opened up right in front of Naruto's face. All of the lava balls converged and slammed right into his face. Now that would have been a killing blow. After all, the lava would have eaten through his skin and incinerated his brain. And that would have ended his life right there and then. However, the guy who was animating the building felt the metal start to creak as Naruto ripped his leg out of it. Mei Terumi, the lava user, was shocked. "How is this possible?" she said. As Naruto's head was no longer there, neither was his right arm. "Behind you!" one of the ninjas shouted, as the guy with the portal was grabbed. He was then lifted up in the air by an arm, his quirk being sucked out of him. Mei shouted out, "He can transport his body parts!" Bam! A foot slammed right in her back with tremendous force. She slammed into the railing hard. The guy that was to the left fired several beams of light that were about to incinerate Naruto's entire body. That was until his body split apart. All the beams did was destroy building tops. As Naruto's body shifted around the area, spinning like a tornado before, it converged on the guy that was firing wildly. Two arms wrapped around his waist. As Naruto sucked his quirk out before crushing his spine. As he tossed him to the ground, he had to jump as a guy's hand had turned into hammers, tempted to smash him as the building top was broken. The hammer then quickly switched into blades, as he could manipulate them into all sorts of weapons. One of them drive right through Naruto's guts. "Kill him now," the guy shouted, as two others appeared behind Naruto, their hand outstretched to one another. Suddenly, electricity started to shift back and forth between them. It felt like they were magnetizing his body and trying to pull him apart, like a magnet being torn apart from the center. The both of them he noticed were twins, so their quirk could be linked together, as Naruto felt himself being torn apart, only for him to smirk. "If you want me so badly," he said. Ice spikes exploded out of his back. The first twin was able to dodge, but the second one, he was skewered. The guy that had his blade hand through Naruto's guts felt Naruto gripped onto it as his eyes started to glow. Naruto burst a beam right through his skull, only for a mist to wrap all around Naruto. Naruto felt his skin burning away. Slowly his skin was falling off as blood started to leak from him, as Mei was releasing an extreme amount of mist that was eating away at his flesh. Suddenly a hand shot out and grabbed her by the throat, stopping her technique as Naruto's body slowly reformed. His body was a mess, blood and gore. However, his body slowly stitched back together, his special clothing melting back together, twisting around him and reforming. Mei could not breathe as Naruto held her by the throat. He pulled his hand back to tear it right through her chest. However, before he could though, she and him was swallowed by water. She was pulled away as she was coughing. As for Naruto, he was stuck in the center. Chains made out of water grabbed both of his wrists and his legs, while the water bubble kept him in place. As he held his breath inside, Yagura landed as Mei looked up towards him still, coughing and clutching her throat to ease the pain, as he had been squeezing the heck out of her. However, he wasn't alone. Another person landed as well. As Naruto looked towards a newcomer, he had very dark brown hair, brown eyes. He was wearing a yukata with blue pants underneath and an orange sash around his waist. He also had several holes on his fingertips. Yes, each of his fingertips had holes on it. Naruto did not know why. As he looked towards the individual, Yagura stepped forward as he faced the water prison that he trapped Naruto inside of. "Of all the places for you to come, you dare to step foot in my village, kill my people. How exactly did you think this was going to play out?" Yagura said in a dangerous tone. "Look," said Naruto. His voice was coming out a bit raspy because of the water. "I know that you're trying to be intimidating, but it's not working. To me, all you seem like is a child with too much power on his hands." "A child, is it?" said Yagura. He clenched his fists. Two chains wrapped around Naruto's neck as they started to squeeze. "I will be the one to put an end to your tyranny." As Naruto started to cough. "You want to know something?" he said with a chuckle. "Final words," Yagura said as he applied more pressure. "Water makes nature stronger," said Naruto. Suddenly trees exploded from his body, absorbing the water and the chains that were made from water. The three ninjas had to leap away at once, as the trees created large roots that tore the building apart, ripping apart everything around them. As Naruto was now freed, the moment he was freed, there was a staff slammed into his face, courtesy of Yagura, who had arrived back, using a funnel made from water to arrive right in front of Naruto. He had a hook staff in his hand that he slammed in Naruto's face. As Naruto was knocked away, now in mid-air falling, suddenly, the other Jinchuriki, his name was Utakata, arrived. He was not a man of much words as he held his hand out. Now Naruto knew the reason why those holes were in his hands. Bubbles formed out of them. One of them slammed in Naruto's gut before. Boom! Naruto felt the pain as he was blasted from the heavens. 9 more slammed right into him as he crashed into the streets. May did not waste any time as she created a massive ball of lava and sank it in the ground, where he lied, plotting to incinerate him down into nothingness. The three of them landed as Yagura told the other ninjas to stay back and get all the people out of here to safety. As May landed on the building side and shouted out to the other two, "Watch out, he can split his body into pieces." Yagura narrowed his gaze around as he watched carefully, as Utakata stood on the building side, looking around. A sector of ninjas had plotted around the group after they evacuated the people, so he could not escape. He will die here. That is when Yagura noticed the water molecule that he had released was becoming frozen. His eyes widened. "Move!" he yelled. Upon saying that, the ground exploded as ice spikes exploded into the air. The massive circle of individuals that had surrounded the area to make sure that he did not escape started to launch their quirks towards it, but the roots under the ground exploded outwards and grabbed them. Their bodies were tossed and thrown and ripped apart in the chaos. Once it was settled, there was a fortress of ice and wood intertwined together. It wasn't really a living space, more like a jungle. May was on the ground as she looked towards her hand that was bleeding badly. She was stabbed in the collision. She grabbed onto her hand. She did not activate her quirk the whole way, as her hand got insanely hot as she placed it on it. She winced in pain as she cauterized the wound. Up in the air, Utakata was in his bubble, as he had to summon 5 of them. His bubble quirk had several uses. They were durable when you want them to be, slippery when you want them to be, explosive when you want them to be. He could change the density and molecules of his bubbles to use for all different purposes. As for Yagura, he stepped out of his water shell that he created. He was able to save a few of his people, but the others, they got skewered before he could. Rage twisted all over his face. As water exploded out of his hands, it mixed with the water around. It tore and slammed at the trees and at the ice around, ripping and tearing them apart. The man was angry. May held both hands out as she winced because of the wound that she just got her eyes. However, she poured her lava out as she started to melt the ice, releasing steam that melt the branches as well. Utakata started to release several bubbles that ignite upon contact, blowing the little forest that he created to pieces. He was no doubt inside. They would kill him where he stood. That is when Naruto exploded out of it. Now in mid-air, he turned his sights towards Utakata as he reached out towards him. However, a whip made from water grabbed Naruto's wrists and yanked him back down. Utakata jumped off as he slammed his heel in Naruto's face, throwing him down with even more force than before, as another water whip grabbed Naruto's other hand. The ground underneath him started to break apart before lava was poured inside. As Utakata created a bubble and sent it downwards, it exploded on Naruto, shocking him from the sky even more. The whip on his hand increased in strength and yanked him, as they were trying to push him inside the lava and keep him there so his body would be incinerated. As Naruto reached out to grab the water whip, only for one of the agents outside that was guarding the place jumped right in. He grabbed onto Naruto's right hand. Yes, he grabbed his right hand before. He increased the density of his body. He was able to make himself heavy. As Naruto felt the pressure dropped on him, he was slammed right into the lava pit. May slammed her hand together before the lava gripped at his skin and started to pull him down. It twists and writhed, trampling, tearing, burning everything apart of him to incinerate him completely. Yagura slammed his hand together before he created an entire bubble of water around the lava. It was not out in it, instead he kept it in the air. The bubble created water spikes that would tear through his skin if he tried to escape, as May molded the lava inside. Utakata created a giant bubble around it so he would detonate it if he escaped the both of them, which was highly unlikely. The ninja who had weighed himself down had jumped away at the last moment, so he was perfectly safe as he landed. Rather roughly though, on his arm, but still, they got him. They heard the screams of Naruto from inside. That is when Yagura felt the vibrations through his water. Something was wrong. Wait! Stop! That's not him, he yelled out. What? We have him, said May. No! Yagura turned, as he realized that he was not hearing anything. But he could feel the vibrations in his water. The water that was outside of this circumference that they were in. They dropped the bubbles and all the lava to show. Nothing was inside. Could they have disintegrated him? No, that's not it. Yagura leaped off as he created another cloud of water and raced on top of it, only to arrive to see Naruto in the center of his people. Countless dead bodies on the ground. All this time, they were fighting a clone. As for Naruto, his face was set in a twisted grin. He seemed to be high, as he had absorbed so much Quirks. Yagura grit his teeth in rage. I'm impressed, said Naruto. Well, I guess I shouldn't be. You are a Kage in a Jinchuriki, and another Jinchuriki. And you are a strong woman, said Naruto as he looked towards the three of them. That clone that I created had a large amount of chakra. Far larger than most of my clones that I use. In terms of power, you guys together are the strongest I ever fought, said Naruto. Yet his mocking grin put them on edge. But it does not matter because now the real show begins. A golden aura started to gather around Naruto's body. His eyes turned golden. Green flames started to lick at the golden aura as roots erupted from the ground and wrapped around his wrists. The roots started to get dry as Naruto was sucking the life, the nature. His body started to get bigger. Veins started to pop all over his skin. Steam started to escape his lips. All the power was put in a state of euphoria. He seemed to be drunk and high at the same time. He's coming, said May, as all three of them shot forward. Yagura twisted his staff and shot it forward, only for Naruto's fist to smash right through it, destroying it like it was nothing. Yagura braced himself as he created his water shield. However, Naruto's hand tear right through it. The sand around his hand sucked the water away. Yagura's eyes went wide. However, before Naruto's fist could make contact with his skull though, a bubble surrounded Naruto's hand and blew it up. Uchigato pumped a lot of his chakra in that attack. He landed. Naruto was armless, as his right arm was completely gone. Uchigato seen his opportunity. He pulled out a sort of flute that he had on his waist. The end of it though had a blade in it, as he was gonna ram it straight through Naruto's skull. Given that Naruto's arm was now useless here. However, in the span of 1 second, blood, skin, and muscle regenerated. Boom! The fist sank into his face with such force. Several teeth flew out of his mouth. His jaw shattered. The force created a blast that blew both me and Yagura away. Uchigato fly through several buildings. His body smashed into the last one. Naruto did not stop though, as he bent his knees and shot forward, arriving in front of Uchigato. His one eye that he had open left looked towards Naruto in fear, as Naruto's heel smacked in his face. His head snapped back as he smashed across the ground. He was sent sailing out of the village, crashing hard. He landed in the forest. Uchigato could not move. However, someone had saw. The person had trailed after, despite being told to leave. Uchigato one eye saw the person landed. Uchigato-sama. He coughed. There was no more teeth left in his mouth, as blood spewed out of his mouth. It was Hodru, his apprentice. As he mumbled something, he told her to leave. As Naruto crash landed, destroying the ground. I won't let you touch him, she said. Stop! Run away, Uchigato said, his words muffled. She shot both of her hands forward and acid fired from her palm as it melted the ground. However, Naruto was already gone. Hodru stepped back in shock as Naruto stood in front of her and gripped her by the throat. Uchigato got up, despite his broken form. No, he yelled, blood flying from his mouth. Snap! Naruto snapped her neck like it was nothing. As her body crumbled, Uchigato's eyes went wide. You should have told her to stay away, said Naruto walking forward. Uchigato lost it. Power exploded from him. However, now that they were out of the village, not that Uchigato would have cared. After seeing what just happened to Hodru, immediately her body was taken up by the slug. The slug body being comprised of a slippery, gelatin material. The giant form of the six tails rose up in all of its glory. Six massive tails came down and squashed Naruto where he stood, only for him to reform in front of the thing and sink his fist into its face, blowing it completely off. However, the head regenerated, pulling back together before spewing acid towards him. This acid was not normal as it rained through the sky, melting everything that it touched. It dropped on Naruto's hand immediately. It ate away down to the bone. However, Naruto's hand regenerated instantaneously. Before he landed, a giant bone broke from the ground and stabbed through the thing's stomach. Trapping it for a second, that was all Naruto needed as he dropped from the sky, about to crash right into it. Before he could though, a blast of compressed water blasted him all the way deeper into the forest. Yagura leaped forward, rage in his eyes as he started to glow. Tapping into the power of the three tails, he wasted no time, his skin peeled off. He released a blast that tore through the forest, turning everything to dust. Seeing the blast coming, Naruto clenched his fists and stomped his foot into the ground before throwing himself forward as he made contact. His fist clashed with a tail beast bomb, miniature one to be exact. An explosion followed that, tear apart the entire forest, turning it into a wasteland, leaving nothing but burned earth and destroyed shrubberies that left in its wake. Naruto looked forward as the two-tailed beasts now, in their full mass, 6 and 3, rushed towards him. Despite the three-tailed being slow, it started to roll like a ball. Naruto rushed forward and slammed right into the beast. Despite the size, Naruto stopped it, gritting his teeth as he stomped his foot in the ground. Naruto lifted upwards. He then twirled and threw it right in the six tails, knocking the both of them off balance. Naruto then leaped to the sky. He twisted and he came down. His fist made contact with the shell of the three tails. The shell exploded from the force, the ground denting with tremendous pressure. Three tails came out to tear him apart. However, Naruto flipped over the first two as he grabbed one of them and started to yank. He then twirled as he swung it and swung it through several trees, skipping it across the land. The six tails sent acid underneath the ground. The acid quickly tear away at everything, allowing the ground to break apart as Naruto fell. He was going to fly upwards until something jumped and grabbed his leg. As Naruto realized it could split itself apart, it held onto his leg and yanked him underneath. The moment Naruto made contact as he was swallowed by it, he yelled out and did the impossible. He froze the acid. Naruto broke through, punching right through it. Half of his body was regenerating as it did so within a second, only for something to come crash down on top of him. It was the three tails that had leaped. However, as it was grinding into the ground, two gigantic hands exploded out of the earth. A monster of epic size ripped itself out of the earth and rose up. The monster was made from sand and trees. It had 4 arms, 2 on each side, a gigantic head that was set in a snarl. Naruto was halfway coming through his chest. As the 2 arms lift, it was still holding on to the turtle before it power bombed it right into the earth. The whole island shook from the force. The sixth tail quickly moved forward as it tried to wrap around Naruto. However, the monster, 2 arms exploded through its gut and ripped it apart. It slammed both hands to the ground before multiple wooden arms started to explode from the earth. Trees mixed together. It grabbed and pinned the sixth tail down. It then started to layer punch after punch, battering the thing. The three tail tried to come to its rescue, only for the both of them to be grabbed and thrown in the opposite direction, slamming on each other with tremendous force. Both tail beasts by this point were wounded. As they looked towards one another, they knew what they had to do. Gathering tail beast bomb, Naruto came out of the monster's chest and jumped towards his head. He then had 4 tentacles come from his back and stab right in the thing's head. The thing opened its mouth and started to scream to the sky, creating a ball ice. Unusually mixed with fire and different element, heat, laser, all sorts of things. Sand twisted together in one unusual, uncontainable, unstable ball of death. The three monsters launch it forward as Naruto watches they implode upon each other. The backlash erased everything. A bright light that seemed to swallow the very land. Even Naruto in the process. Destruction shook the entire place. Me, Terumi, who was told to stay back by Yagra because they were going to transform, watched on the walls as she saw the chaotic blasts. The beasts were gone, all of them. She landed on the ground as she rushed forward. Meanwhile, both Utikata and Yagra were in craters. The both of them were bloody. The blast had incinerated everything, but that fool was so close he also got hit by the blast. He would be wounded just like them. Both men were getting up to their feet. Yagra cried out in pain as two beams teared through his stomach area. He looked down as the thing ripped and tore. Blood splattered everywhere as he collapsed to his knees and fell over. Utikata turned as his head was smashed into the earth. He could only glance up with his one eye that was still open. There he stood, Naruto. His right arm was completely gone. The right side of his face was torn off. You could see his skull. His empty eye socket. Barely at 60%, and yet, even fully transformed, you guys still lost. I must say, I'm disappointed. Not that I thought that I would lose, said Naruto. There was a grin on his face. At first, this was all about business. However, testing my strength against some of the greatest is giving me a sort of pride. A happiness that I've never felt in a long time. Fighting like this, it's quite fun, said Naruto. Taking on an entire village and coming out alive. And let me tell you a little secret. Not that you tell anyone else. I'm not even fully at 60% yet. It's only a matter of time before I gain 100% of my power. And when I do, I'll be unstoppable. And that's not even counting what I'll be taking from you two now. Naruto gripped their skull. Black markings spread over their seals and wrapped around their body. Mei heard screaming as she increased her pace, running even faster. When she arrived, she saw three bodies, two on the ground and one on his knees. Mei prepared herself only for the one on his knees to get up to his feet. She heard laughter. Naruto looked down in his palm as he saw two more Megatamas appearing. The grin on his face spread happily as the both of them synchronized themselves with the other. 6 more left to go. But that wasn't the only change that he got. He noticed that his skin was far more durable. The shell of the turtle. It mixed with his DNA. Not to mention he could feel their quirks. He could feel the acidic power coursing through him. The destruction. Everything coursing through his veins. Snapping into focus. As Mei finally saw him, her eyes widened in shock. I thought you said I would die in your village. She clenched her fist as lava started to erupt out of the ground behind her. Naruto stepped forward only for him to blink away. He appeared behind her. She spun around and drive her lava hand fist towards his face, only for water to materialize in front of him and her lava sizzle out. The water was so dense and compressed it actually destroyed her technique. She was shocked. She was about to move until Naruto placed his fist in her stomach. Pain unlike any other coursed through her. She felt her bones rack. She felt her brain tremble. Her knees buckle as she collapsed down to them. Pain unlike any other. She could not even scream. As she just lay there, in utter pain, her vision getting dark. Dark spots appearing all over her vision. Naruto crouched down towards her level as he heard the remaining ninjas coming. Don't worry, I'm done here, he said. I got what I wanted. Besides, they need a leader more than ever now. I'll see you soon. With that, he shot off into the sky. As the ninjas rushed out towards her aid, she glanced over towards the two bodies before she passed out. unable to sustain consciousness anymore. Meanwhile, Naruto landed on the water top only for the water to rise up, turn into a massive wave as he ride it the entire way, bringing him towards his new destination as he took to the seas. Time skip. A boat, situated in the middle of the ocean, was just there, quiet. As sunbreak was just coming out, Naruto sat on the deck. He was eating. There was a table in front of him, as he bit down on the meat, tearing it off the bone. As the sun rays washed over him, he felt his body energizing. As he felt the water underneath him, he could feel the sea, wherever it was. He could feel his quirks getting stronger. The closer he reached his goal, the stronger he becomes. Three-tailed beast is now under his control. He could feel his power growing. He took a deep breath as he calmed himself. He was losing focus. He was becoming too enthralled in the battle. Even back then, if he had went 100% from the beginning, he could have ended the match rather easily, but a part of him that he tried to fight back was taking over much quicker than usual. There was two parts of him. The part that wanted the job to be done, and the part that wanted the world to burn. After all the neglect, the pain that he pushed aside, the suffering, the longing, all of that had turned a part of him into something twisted. Not to say that there was another person, but whenever he fought for too long it came out. He became reckless. He became destructive. He killed without mercy. Not that he really cared about anyone nowadays. Well, not to say, he shook his head. Whenever he thought he was immune to all sort of feelings, she popped into his head. However, this wasn't about her. He was a monster. He was a being of death. He told Itachi that countless will die if he achieved his goal. Itachi told him that this was not about now but the future. Yes, about the future will change when he takes it all away. When he becomes the god of all quirks. A being that transcends everything. That brought a smile to his face. After that, he can finally rest. He thought to himself with a smile. However, why was that damn girl popping up in his mind? Every time he thought about just resting, she popped up in his mind. She cared for him. She was a friend to him. The word felt so strange on his tongue. He only had two friends growing up, and he lost the both of them. And he just wanted to rest after all of this was over. He made promises to them, and also Itachi as well. Someone who he considered as a friend. In a strange way. The person that led him most into this goal. If it wasn't for him, he would have taken much longer to achieve what he wanted. To understand what everything was all about. So Itachi was a friend of his. And yet, she was also a friend. She's been the only one that he can talk to. She's been the only one that he did not lash out at. After all, look what he did to these people. Around the boat, as the view showed, bodies were everywhere. Naruto had slaughtered all the people on the boat and taken command, just to eat their food, and watch the sun rise. That's because he was a monster, nothing more, nothing less. A broken monster. He knew that he was. But he had to be to complete his goal. His next destination, the Hidden Stone. Time skip. Naruto finally arrived back on land. He had spent a few hours on the water, longer than necessary. As he arrived back on land, Naruto felt something strange. He wasn't sure where he was. However, he felt something off. Someone was here, waiting for him. Two people stepped out of the foliage. They were dressed in all black. It seemed to be a bodysuit of some sorts, with a strange utility belt around their waists with all sorts of things. And who are you two supposed to be? We were sent here, the one on the right said. By our father, the one on the left said. To kill you, the one on the right spoke up. The both of them had dark hair. One had green eyes, the other one had blue eyes. So your father sent you to kill me, huh? And who exactly is your father? Naruto asks. Well, he's your father as well. The one on the right said. What? Said Naruto. Yes, the one on the left said. Our father, Minato Namikaze. Naruto blinked in shock as he wondered if he was hearing things. Did that man went and had other children that he didn't know about? No, that was not it. These children, they seemed to be around a year younger than him. But there was something robotic about them, like they were puppets, not real. How did they find him? The one on the left started to twitch before his eyes switched. And it seemed to be showing a new understanding. Naruto, he said. His voice sounded the same, but there was something that Naruto felt different. I warned you. Naruto clenched his fists. What is this? What are these people? Said Naruto. There's something I've been working on for the longest time now. I presume you know about my work. More than I ever told you. Naruto walked cautiously as he looked towards them. Something felt off. He didn't know what it was. How did you find me? Naruto asked. I've been keeping my eye out. Sources. And I finally got your trail down. And these children, if you might say, are really special hunters. Able to reach you before you could have left the Water Pacific completely. So you send kids after me? Huh, Minato, said Naruto. He didn't know what kind of quirk Minato was using to link himself to these people, but he did not care. Or did he care how he find them? I'll just kill them, said Naruto. I've been getting information. Witnesses. You should have killed all the witnesses at the sand. You messed up. How so? While your body is durable and also strong, if it is completely erased, you cannot reform. You think you can erase me? Yes, I can. I only wish that you have joined me instead of becoming so much of a problem and a disappointment. But it doesn't matter anymore. Do it, said Minato as both of the kids linked their hand together. These two were created specially for mass destruction. But don't get it wrong, they're not robots. They're just specially enhanced kids with quirks that are specially designed for doing this. Their hands start to glow. So did their eyes. Goodbye, son, said Minato. The entire place started to light up before. Boom! The entire island was swallowed in a blast that erased it. There was no shrubbery or debris, nothing. It was just erased. This was no normal blast. This was no bomb. This was a sort of energy that erased, completely wiped the slate clean. Destruction. Everything was gone. A distance away, 4 other children, all dressed in black, stood as they watched it all. The force of the blast hit them, but they barely moved. They were the reassurance to make sure that he died. Even if that blast did not kill him, which Minato was sure that it did, the toxin that was left behind would kill him. And even if it did not, they would finish him off. Meanwhile, as she was heading back towards her village, Mikasa suddenly paused as she felt her heart throb. Her 2 teammates stopped as they looked towards her. What's wrong? They asked. But she did not answer them. In her mind, she spoke. Naruto? But guys, be and subscribe right here. For the next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other what ifs coming your way. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them, but I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.